Hey folks, welcome to Got Your Back post-game live stream short shift edition. Ryan Rashog here. Going to be checking in with Jason Strudwick in just a moment. This live stream podcast brought to you by Mid-City Construction Management, a locally owned and family-operated company specializing in civil construction projects for over 40 years, from roadways to excavation, underground utilities, paving, and concrete. They've played a massive role in the infrastructure of Edmonton and surrounding area since 1980. Man, the Oilers don't make things easy on their fans, do they, Struddy? As we say good evening to you, buddy. Like they just can't take a little bit of success and roll with it, can they? Like just have a tough time with that for whatever reason.
You know, some self-inflicted wounds tonight. A lot of good things happened, I thought, in that game, especially in the first two periods. You know, some decisions I think that the players would like to have back.
Yeah, no kidding.
And preventable ones, I think that kind of got away from them towards the end of the game. So, you know, I've been on that team. I've been on the Blackhawks team like that, where you have maybe one or two good players, then the rest are worker bees, and you just let them hanging around, and they get to 4-1. You're like, okay, we're all right. And then a couple penalties, and all of a sudden it's a nail biter. At the end, Stu Skinner has to make a big save.
Yeah, it ends up being way more of a nail biter than it actually needed to be. But listen, at the end of the day, they go into Chicago, a team that had lost 7 in a row, and they get a couple of points. So, I mean, for them, it's mission accomplished. Wasn't the prettiest. But let's talk about kind of the way the flow of that game went, Strud. I actually thought a little bit sluggish off the start, but then I thought they found their game pretty well, and we're grinding through pretty good there the first period and a half. They seemed to go in there and do a lot of things I think they wanted to do. Things obviously got away from them later on, but as far as starts, and we've been talking so much about starts with this team, do you feel like this was better?
You do, and what I liked about it is that the big guys were going, right. So the big guys, I'll put the top two. Let's call it the top two lines. And I'm not sure Janmark and Puljujarvi count as the big guys long term, but they are tonight. They are right now. But those top two lines did. You know, they were. You know, especially McDavid's line was dominating, and I think that's a fair word. They dominated. Could have had way more than they produced at the end. Got unlucky a little bit. The bottom six brought some energy, right? They were bringing some energy. And then I thought Darnell Nurse played a ton tonight. 500th game. You know, Jack brought that up on the broadcast. I think every time that Darnell touched the puck, but
yeah,
you know, I actually thought he had a good game. And there's some criticism of him on the line. I thought his partner struggled tonight. I thought Cece's a step behind. And there's gonna be nights like that, right? As a partnership. But you know, through the first, I'd almost go the first 40 minutes. And I thought that as I expected it, I hope the big guns get it done. Everyone else holds serve, and then you get the win. But then you get into the third, and Shaga, I'm not sure what you saw in the third that I may have missed.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you said it right off the top of the podcast here, self-inflicted wounds, right? So Connor McDavid has his hold my beer moment early on in the period, just goes blazing up the ice for that 3-1 goal, blows by Jack Johnson. You know, you could tell he was just ready to come out and put an end to this game, and he acted like it. He did. Just a fantastic goal. Then 93 with the great feed. You know, like it seemed to me like they were pushing and they did what they had to do. And then when they felt comfortable, they let up, or they did some, you know, took a bad penalty, and they just kept giving that team life. Like the top players were trying to get them where they were trying to go, but mistakes, and they kept letting that team back into the game over and over and over again.
Hyman and Nuge, I thought, had good games, but they also gave to the Chicago, right? You think of Hyman's, you know, errant pass up the middle and I know what he's doing. He's trying to get to the center, and I get it. And 9 times out of 10, that'll get to his center. I believe it was to McDavid. Doesn't. Next thing you know, it's in the back of the net. Nugent Hopkins takes 8 minutes and penalties, 4 minor. Well, I guess two minors and then a double. Right off the face-off at center, you cannot take a 4-minute major in that, or a 4-minute double minor, let's call it. Cannot take that in that situation, right? Even you just get out of the box, you slash another guy on the wrist, like it just, and that's unlike Nuge. You know, so you're it's hard to say, well, this is a a characteristic of this player. It's unlike him, right? But he knows better, right? You got to know better in that moment. You're understaffed. You got some thinness through the lineup with some injuries, Chagra, and and I feel like every night it's something, but it's someone different, right? Yeah. It's an off night by a goalie. It's tonight it was penalties or the team can't score or bad defending or you know what I mean? Like it's always, and I think that's the inconsistency we're really seeing with this group, and it's reflective in their where they are in the standings.
Yeah, no, for sure. Listen, I think that they made this way more difficult on themselves than it needed to be, and there's going to be a price to pay for that. There is. They grabbed these 2 points, but as a result of not holding on to leads and finishing that team off earlier in the game, Jay Woodcroft has to play the absolute crap out of his big guns. And so if you look at, I'm just taking a look here at the game sheet. We'll just run it down here. Connor McDavid, 27 minutes and 6 seconds. That's nuts. Leon Draisaitl, 26 minutes and 13 seconds. Darnell Nurse, 28:57. Struds, these guys are going to get on a plane tonight. They're going to land at 2 a.m. in Minnesota, and they've got a 7 o'clock start in Minnesota, less than 24 hours after the previous start. So they got the points here, and they gutted it out, but it's potentially going to come at a cost that we may watch tomorrow night, guys skating around with pianos strapped to their backs.
I'm familiar with that. So when you're looking at
when you were fresh,
right. When I wasn't playing the first game, they put me in the second game. No, you know what? It's with the challenges they have with some of the injuries. This is to be expected. You need your big guys are going to play, and your big guys. I thought the first 4 goals were scored by all 5 goals were scored by all the top 6 forwards, right? Yep. Whether it's Janmark or Draisaitl or whatever, like they all got it done. And you need to have that because there's not a lot of pop in that bottom 6. But you're going to have to rely on them. This is a stretch of games where they're, I think it was Jason Grady that kind of outlined some of the teams they're playing aren't the hardest stretch they're going to have as far as standing wise, but they're going to have to rely on those big guys to beat the other team. You have to beat them. So tomorrow night, guess what? They might need to bang out another north of 20, 22, 24, 25 minutes. That's just the way it is. And I know they're going to be tired, but when you are the leaders of the team and your salary indicates it, you got to go out there and do it. They got to try to find a little bit way more ice time for the bottom. But when I got up 4-1, I thought, okay, they're going to be able to run out all 4 lines and even skip maybe the first line a couple times. But instead it went the other way. They were skipping the bottom lines to get those other guys out instead.
Just taking a look at breaking down McDavid's minutes here, 21-13 at even strength, right? Those are generally tougher minutes that you're grinding through. That's a lot of even strength hockey to play in a game. $139 shorthanded because he's used on the kill and $414 on the power play as well. Okay, all right. I think we crapped on them appropriately for letting that lead get away. Let's talk about a couple of the things that I think are trending in positive signs a little bit here. Puljujarvi makes a couple of really nice plays. Finish the one that I liked, like the assist was really nice. The one that I really liked was on the wall. He throws a body check, knocks over a D-man. That results in a 2-on-1 the other way. I've been talking a lot lately about Puljujarvi, though he's not producing offensively. At least he's finishing checks, and people kind of roll their eyes and are like, well, what's that worth? Well, when it's a habit, when it's something you just instinctually do, you're going to finish that check on the wall, and right in that moment, it leads directly to offensive opportunity for your line mates. So some good signs from Puljujarvi's game. He's picking up some assists here, and his game from a work ethic standpoint has been good, and he's starting to get rewarded a bit here, Struds.
Disruptive. I use this word for Puljujarvi. He has to be disruptive. And on that play specifically, he was very disruptive. He ran over Caleb Jones like it was a man running into a boy. And you could see Caleb was like a turtle on his back. He didn't know he couldn't get up. And then I think it was Ceci that zipped that puck up the ice. But that's when you're a big man and you have a chance to lay someone out. Doesn't mean you hurt them or have to put them in the 10th row, but you want to be disruptive. And I've said it all the time. I think that his game when he is just being disruptive, both physically and with his stick, I think it opens up everything else for him. And he had a couple nice chances today. No, there was a nice pass over. I think it was Bouchard that fed him over, and he just missed it. Caught it, shot it, didn't dust it off, didn't take a look at the goal. He just caught and shot it, just about had it. So I feel like he's heading the right direction. There's some offensive production. You can say he was heavily involved in 2 goals for today. One, he got credit with an assist, the other one he didn't. And it doesn't always show up in the score sheet, but I tell you who appreciates it, your 2 line mates. And that is what Yes's got to kind of work towards. The points will come, but you got to start with that disruptive nature.
Yeah, totally agree. We put out the call before the podcast here to take your questions on Twitter. And so we're going to get to the Weiss Johnson mentions. And remember, this is a great time of year to throw in a garage furnace if you don't already have one, and Weiss Johnson can get that done for you. I had one put in this week, and it was just in time. Absolutely love it. My wife can get into a nice toasty warm car every morning. Weiss Johnson can do that for you. Also, air conditioners, of course. Great local company. 5803 Roper Road is the address. You can give them a call, 780-463-3096. That is Weiss Johnson. As we go to the Weiss Johnson mentions here on Twitter. Okay, is Skinner the real deal? He's looked so calm, capable, and composed in just about every game. This coming to us from Oilcaholic. Also, Struds is very handsome. Does he tire of men and women gawking at him? I know you do, Struddy.
Well, it's very flattering, right? But the good thing is when my looks leave, I'll still have a decent personality.
Yeah, well, you've already been leaning on that for about 4 years, but just so you know.
That's how I found my wife.
You're well down that path. The basic question there, though, was Skinner for real? He's showing more and more every single night that he is, and I think about the big moments in that game, and there were more than there needed to be, but Stuart Skinner had the biggest moment late in the game, came through. Like, wasn't a perfect night for him, but came through when that moment arose.
What I like is that he is building a resume and a case for himself to be trusted in different situations by the coaching staff, and honestly, Shocker, probably more importantly, his teammates. As a young goalie, no one really knows what he's all about. Yeah, some guys play with him in the minors, but just because you're good in the minors doesn't mean you're capable in the NHL. Well, he's been put down in some tough situations where he's at a battle. And so you're up 4-1, you're feeling pretty good about it. And all of a sudden it just, that changes quick. You're killing a penalty. It feels like the world's shrinking around you, and he stands tall and gets it done. So he's building a case for his teammates, building a case for the coaches, but also he's putting those moments in his, experience toolbox. And I know it's not game 7 of the Stanley Cup, but you got to start somewhere, right? And you got to start building that ability to know those moments and to feel good in them. And he has been very calm. And I like what he's doing. I like the pressure he's putting on coaching staff to continue playing him.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think right from the start of training camp, I mean, remember when he first came up, didn't he pitch a monster shutout and then get sent back down to the American League? Yeah. And then this year he arrives. Everybody knows he's going to be here. He can be confident that he's at least got a spot to lose. And right from the start, he was very steady. Right from the start, he was pushing the starter, which you want him to do. And then with most of the opportunity he's been given, he's done a pretty good job. Few blips on the radar, right? Few missed puck handles here and there. There was the 7-second mess against Jersey earlier on in the year. But I think Skinner is definitely building confidence in Jay Woodcroft to go to him. And what we're seeing is that as they work Campbell through his issues, Jay Woodcroft is often going to Stuart Skinner because sometimes it needs to be about winning the game that night. Mm-hmm. And Skinner is getting some of those starts. Just the start where you got to put the guy in who you think gives you the best chance to win. You talked about Darnell Nurse, 500th game. We've been hard on him, and rightfully so, in recent games and this year, a fair amount. But I actually thought tonight was one of his better games of the season. He was all over it and had some really good looks tonight on 500's a special night for a guy, I would imagine.
500's a big number, right? And I'm guessing his goal is to get to 1,000, north of 1,000, and with his body type and his physical nature, I'm sure you'll get there. Another whatever that's going to take number of years. But yeah, I really liked his game tonight. There's a great pass to Draisaitl, but there were some nice breakups as well. In different areas of the ice. I like I said, I honestly I thought CC struggled today, and I
Yeah.
think you look no further than I think it was Domi's second goal on the penalty kill. He has control of it, tries to skate in front of the net.
Yeah.
You got to understand the moment, understand where you're at, in as far as the game, the time, who's on the ice. That's Patrick Kane. That's not Steve McIntyre. No disrespect, Mac, but you got to understand where you're at, and I don't think he appreciated that moment, and then it kind of puts his teammates under pressure. So it was, if you noticed at the end of the game, it wasn't Cece out there with Nurse. It was Kulak.
Yeah.
So I think someone else noticed it, not just us.
25-50 might have something to do with it. Like Cody Cece, doesn't exactly glide around out there. He's fine. He moves okay, but 25 is, right. I mean, that's too much. That's too many minutes, I think, for that player. I think would be fair to say. Zach Hyman, interesting night for him. Hey, like gets another goal called back. He's bouncing him off the post all night long. He's doing his usual Zach Hyman things, right? Crazy work ethic and digging pucks out and just ridiculous work ethic and all those things. But he had, I mean, I think I just said the other day to Gregor on the radio, or how many times have we said, "Oh, big mistake there from Zach Hyman"? That really, the tough one there. It's very seldom does he ever do that, but he did it tonight. Kind of a strange night for him.
Yeah, I thought he had a really good game. To be honest, I the way he works, I have a hard time handing out any criticism to him. He probably could have had 2 or 3 goals tonight.
Yeah.
The disallowed goal was pretty clear. In real time, I didn't see it quite as quickly. But as soon as I saw the replay, I'm like, yeah, you can't cross-check the defender into the goalie and get open and shoot it in. Like that's pretty easy. I don't think Jay was really thinking this was not going to count, but he is such a worker bee, and hungry and heavy on sticks. Man, he wins a lot of puck battles. So that pass up the wall, I don't like that. But again, what his intention is, and you want him to make that play, and you want to continue for him to make that play. So you say, listen, Zach, we know that was a misfire. Make that play because that's the breakout. That is what Connor wants. He wants to get the puck delivered to him with speed. So is it a mistake? Yes, but it's a play you continue to want him to have make. So listen, Zach is, I mean, God, what a signing. I still look back and I think that guy is, just an absolute worker bee. Crazy.
On the ice, great signing. Off the ice, in the locker room, it's been, it's paid major dividends. Back to the Weiss Johnson mentions. And Ryan H. says, when are they going to figure out how to play in their own end? They need help on the blue line now. We've been talking a lot about this, Struds. How far away are they from a game that you would be comfortable taking into the playoffs defensively where they are right now? Feels like they're miles away.
Yeah, they're not close. But part of that also is, and I feel like I'm making excuses, but they are missing significant pieces up front, and that does make a difference. Right now their third and fourth line are probably fourth lines, right? So you don't really have a true third line, and that makes it a little bit more difficult. You spend more time in your own zone, but there's people talking about another center or a winger. I don't even look at that until I address my D in a way that adds an Adam Larson type player in that group that's a stout defender. Who is that? I don't know. Who that is. We've batted around Orlov. I've loved Orlov.
Gavrikov. Yeah, we've thrown a few names out there of unrestricted guys coming up here.
Yeah, and maybe you got to look at someone who is not unrestricted and maybe with 2 or 3 years. But I don't know who that player is. A suggestion I had was the D-man there in Anaheim. He's been there a long time. I want to say Cody Franzen. I don't know why I'm thinking of
Franzen. That's a couple years ago.
No, I know it's not him, but
thinking of. I'll take a quick look.
Left shot defenseman. He's been there for like 10 years.
You're not talking Fowler, are you?
Yeah, Cam Fowler. Like a guy like that. Not necessarily that guy, but he's got 3 years on his deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just like a type of contract, right? Someone who's maybe getting towards the end of their deal, and they maybe the team isn't quite where they want to be. Like Matt Dumba's in Minnesota, but I'm not sure Matt is exactly what you need. Mm-hmm. I like his physicality, but I'm not sure if they're going to give up on, or not give up, but trade him up. So that these are things you have to go through every team and look at what's available and what's going on. But that's something that needs to be addressed, because in-house it's not here now.
97-29. They've been contributing in big moments here for a few games. They've been, they're not producing at the same level that they were for a big chunk of this season.
Mhm.
And they take turns having little lulls in a season by their standards, right? By everybody else's
Yeah.
standard, it's still playing fantastic, but little bit lulls here and there. But on a night like tonight, they knew they were going to have to drive this thing, Struddy. In the end, they really do. Like Draisaitl, there was some authority in the way Leon Draisaitl went about his offense tonight.
Great legs. I thought he jumped. I thought he was jumping all night. But you're right. Like again, when you play the Wild, they say you're sending out your big guys like, "Hey, stop them," because they're
Yeah.
probably going to get 2-3 goals tonight. When they play Montreal on Saturday, you better believe you're like, stop them, because there's a lot of young defensemen on that team. I like those defensemen with Montreal. I really like a lot of, like, Caden Gooley is going to be very good, and I'm guessing a captain of, well, I guess Suzuki's there, so maybe not the captain, but a captain. But you send them out there, say, you got to stop us, and that line is hard to handle. They had a ton of offensive zone time, ton of chances, hit posts, all that stuff. So yeah, for this next stretch, when you're down men, you load them up and say, okay, come try to stop us. And then, hopefully you can get some support from the other lines and the D hold ground. But that's what it looks like to me. And I'm not sure if you see it any differently.
No, listen, man. They're doing what they got to do, right? Like I said, McDavid had the hold my beer moment. Then he did it again a little bit later on in the period. Like they're doing what they need to do. But I do wonder. I know they're young and they're great skaters and all that. But you wonder at a certain point if you pile too many 26-minute nights on top of forwards that play the game the way they do. Like it's getting very much back to this really top-heavy scenario that Jay Woodcroft arrived into. Different in this moment because it's more out of necessity due to injuries and such.
100%.
But it's still, the end result is too many minutes for those guys, though they do manage to get the job done here tonight. What have you thought of Philip Broberg? I know, Struddy, how you felt about them bringing him up. You were concerned, not enough quality games pieced together in the American League. We talk about necessity. Probably it was time for Niemelainen to go down. Even if Broberg wasn't quite ready to come up, but he's played a few games here. His night to night, he was 9 minutes, 37 seconds, a shot, 2 attempts. I thought he made a mistake in the high slot on one of the goals against, but what have you thought? What do you think tonight and so far your evaluation?
Yeah, there's no doubt he wasn't quite on his guy that scored the goal there, but it was a bit of a weird bounce. But he was retreating instead of staying.
He's kind of in no man's land, hey?
Yeah, he was. And I thought he was close to the player, then backed off. And I mean, it's a broken play is sometimes really unfair to evaluate. But if we're gonna try to break it down, you have to take a look at it.
Sure.
Moving the puck well. I still think he needs tons of reps. He needs tons of reps. I see a guy who sometimes gets the puck, not so much tonight, but other nights, where he just kind of throws it away, and I want him to hold that and be steadier and make a play. He's a D-man, I think, that needs to make a play. Niemelainen is different, where you're okay. If every now and then you got to go off the glass, that's fine. But, Broberg can skate out of trouble and or make that pass. And I think that's something that will set him apart and I think bring value to this Edmonton Oilers defense. So he's here, he's playing, he's learning. I would still prefer to have him in the minors, playing there and playing significant minutes. But I do understand that he's here. And does it make a difference if he plays one good game in 2 weeks? I don't know. I mean, he's developing, right?
Yeah.
But it's tough because right now shouldn't be a time when you're developing guys. It should be a time when guys are kind of finished products, right? And so this year with Healy and Holloway on the team, that's, what is that? Let's call it 20 minutes a night. You're developing.
Yeah. Evan Bouchard was 13.56 tonight as well. I think maybe that's part of being paired with a guy that the staff isn't super comfortable in certain situations. So Bouchard's minutes may be a little bit diminished, and I'd like to see his minutes as his. I mean, he scored some goals lately. Probably has some confidence in his game. Is that a result of having a rookie on the left side? It cuts into your minutes as the more experienced guy on the right.
It does, and I actually think with the change, I thought he might get more because as a right defenseman, you're on the far side for 2 periods, and the lefty can get a quick change, and you can say, "Hey, just quick change," right? And instead, it was the other way. And Bouchard still had little minutes. Now there were times where he was out there with different partners. I think he had a couple shifts with Nurse. He also got some power play time. Obviously, trying to find him some minutes, but or maybe this is a calculated decision by the coaching staff to bring his minutes down a little bit and boost up Barrie and Kulak, two guys that did really well together in the playoffs last year, albeit as a third pairing, not the second pairing.
Yeah. So take us through what the next 15 hours or so are going to be like for the Edmonton Oilers. You're on the road. The Chicago-Minnesota split, it's not like it's a crazy distance, but still, I mean, as we're doing this, they're probably like, loading up the bus. And take us through what the next 10, 12, 15 hours is like to try and turn around this quickly. This is a nasty bit of scheduling for them.
It's a tough turn. I don't know. I'm going to guess it's an hour flight just to make this. So from downtown Chicago, United Center, you're probably a 30-minute drive to the airport. Then you got to get onto the airplane. They get you flying. Usually you're there ahead of the bags. Usually, not every time, but you're there. So it takes a few minutes to get the bags on. And then because again, they're probably I'm guessing they're barely at the airport right now. If they're at all. And then you get on the flight, you fly. On the way, you'll eat. There'll be a significant meal, like a real meal. Maybe in the dressing room there'd been pizza or something like that. And then again from Minnesota, that's a pretty significant ride in from the airport to St. Paul, where the teams, they used to stay right around the rink. I'd say it's 20, 25 minutes, somewhere in there. And then you crawl in there, someone's standing there handing you your keys. You get your keys and you go up to bed. So, you add that all together, 12, 1.
Well, I was told around 2. I was told around 2:00 was touchdown.
Yeah.
It's
at 2:00 is touchdown. So it must be a longer flight than I said. Is it an hour?
They're an hour ahead out there, I think, right now.
Okay.
Still,
so that makes a difference.
Yeah.
Right. So right. So that's 2:00. So I'm guessing they would probably have a meeting in the morning. Not in the morning, but there'd be they'll say lunch at 11:30 meeting.
And they just let guys sleep, hey? It's not like you give them a 10:00 or a 10:30 or an 11:00 meeting, right? There's no point to that. You let guys sleep in?
I would let them sleep in. Yeah. Now there might be some guys needing some treatment. So that treatment would take, the guys who are going to play tonight, that treatment would take place in their salon, like the room they have for their dinner. There'd probably be a skate for the guys that aren't playing, and that skate always sucks. You get on the bus and there's one grumpy assistant coach who doesn't want to go there, and you have 2 or 3 angry players. The goalie that's not playing tonight, and you know what, since Skinner played the night before, he might not even go down, but as a rookie he probably would go. And you're all grumpy and you get down there and you put the tunes on and then you get skated and do your thing, and then you come back and have lunch and go to bed and then wake up and watch the game. But it's a tough turnaround for the guys. And then after their meeting and their lunch, I'm guessing they go back and have a little nap, and then have a little Red Bull and get on the bus and try to wake up to play a quick game.
Do your legs feel heavy right away? Does it take a while for them to normalize, or do you feel it more later in the game, would you say? We talked about the Oilers and their starts. What expectation do you have of the Oilers in the first period tomorrow night? Can you have any, or is it more the third you'd be worried about?
There are some nights we actually feel pretty good. Now, I never played 30 minutes and then turn it on and play the next night. I played some 20 minute, 20, 22, 23, where I was like, okay, that's pretty heavy. But you can tell as soon as your legs touch the ground on that warm up, you're like, ooh, legs are feeling good, or they're not there tonight. Yeah. So when they're not there, you really have to, I found that what I would do is I'd kind of trick my mind to just say, it doesn't matter. We got to just get going and try to get myself in the game. So I'd find someone I disliked on the other team. So I'd choose whoever,
Terry Ryan.
Kirill. Yeah, Terry Ryan. Yeah, that's a very unlikable guy. If I ever got any shifts against the fourth line, and I would definitely get mad, but I'd try to just create some anger in me to get myself going, right? And try to say, tonight, this guy's going to have a bad night because I'm already having a bad night. And then that kind of gets yourself into it. But if you kind of just float around and not really engage in the game, it can get pretty ugly. Now, again, I wasn't a top tier player, so they can have a good moment anytime. But you kind of got to find a way to get connected to the game. Even sometimes if you get rocked, it's nice because it's like, okay, here we go. Now we're in one. So
right.
Then towards the end of the game, you can get tired, but hopefully by then you're kind of in the game. And for the Oilers tomorrow night, my suggestion is to really be dialed into your system play, because the system protects you when all health isn't feeling good. So really get dialed into your system, understand what you're trying to do, be very clean, And then for Jay, he's got to try to work his way into more ice time for the third and fourth lines.
Yeah. I mean, I would have liked to have seen Dylan Holloway elevated onto that second line ahead of Janmark and maybe, I don't know, maybe try and bounce off. Yeah, honestly, I did. Last game, though, I same thing last game, right? Like coming off the game where he scored the goal and they were in injury troubles and such, I thought maybe there was an opportunity there. He's doing what he can with the minutes that he's getting. There's not a lot there for him. He was .922 tonight. He took some draws tonight too. He was 1 for 5 in the face-off circle, so it wasn't a great night there for him. By the way, did you notice?
But I actually liked Holloway's. I liked Holloway. I thought he had a couple nice moments in there. I thought he was good, but I like Janmark in that spot. Like I think Janmark's getting more comfortable. So if you're saying you'd like to promote Holloway, just get him more ice time and not demoting Janmark so much, I can live with that.
Yeah.
But I think Janmark's actually got something going on there. He and Nuge and Puljujarvi, I think there's something there. So I like that trio. I think actually tonight I thought that was a pretty good game.
Yeah, scored a nice goal, right? 2-on-1.
They had a tough night previously against who was that? The Panthers. They had some really. It was the Panthers last game, wasn't it? Or no?
Now you're making me go up here. It's late here, Study. I'm trying to remember.
I know.
Yeah, Florida.
Yeah, I thought they had a tough night, but I thought tonight they had a good night. But consider the second, third, fourth lines for Chicago are basically kind of 3 third lines at the best.
Yeah. The other thing they haven't done is they haven't gone 7 defensemen in a while here, but I think that the reason they did that before was because they felt real good about their group of forwards and probably liked their at times anyway. So we'll see. We haven't seen that configuration for a while, and I'm not sure that we will anytime soon.
And you can't play those top guys any more than you are already.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? Like it's not like you're like, we got to get more McDavid. You got a lot of McDavid already, So I think you dress the 7th or the 12th forward, those guys are still going to play a ton. They are going to be ridden hard until they start getting at least Yamamoto maybe back next, and then maybe Fogle in the out order maybe after that, and then McLeod in a few weeks, I guess. I don't know. Yeah,
I think McLeod will be a few weeks. We'll see how he responds to some treatments and such. But that one's got low ankle or high ankle sprain written all over it. We'll have to wait and see. But they need top 9 bodies because they are shy of them, and as a result, the big guns are having to play an absolute ton of hockey. All right, Struddy, that's going to do it for the live stream short shift post game edition. Appreciate you doing this, pal. The Oilers, the schedule in terms of quality of competition takes a bit of a dip here, but the schedule maker has made it tough. It's going to be interesting to see how they manage tomorrow night. Be fun to watch. Struds, thanks for this, my friend.
Talk to you later, buddy.
Okay, take her easy. All right, folks, that'll wrap up the live stream and the podcast here. Big thanks to our sponsors, of course, Mid-City Construction Management and Weiss Johnson as well. Oilers into Minnesota to take on the Wild, 4th in the Central right now. They're 10-9-2. But they're 5-6-1 on home ice. Keep an eye on that Kaprizov, 27 points, 13 goals on the year. So that tired Oiler D is going to have their hands full with him. We'll see if they can add yet another win and make it 4 in a row tomorrow against the Minnesota Wild. Have a great night, folks. We'll talk to you soon.